narrative. All right, I'm going to call the Building and Tech Subcommittee for Monday, February 7th, 2022 to order at 6:06. We just have one agenda item, and that's to review the Chamber summary report for January 2022. Turned over to Jeff Atkins from Barton to discuss.
So according to you had a deeper summary report in the month of January. This would be something that I know the next board meeting is a workshop, so we can come back to the board on March 7th for formal approval. But I did want to run through this. There's one large sheet around here, and that's for $12,937 cafeteria floor. This work was it would be done last summer, but when we started to look at the floor, there was a moisture issue that would not allow the floor to be adhered to it properly. So we put that work on hold and plan to do that work over Christmas break. We really couldn't find what was wrong with it, so we pulled the floor up over Christmas break. We did pull the floor up. There's still a high moisture content in there, which would not allow the carpet or the new line of flooring to attach to it. So we had to do some remediation for that, which if you think if you were to garage pocket floor, you've got to clean it. Put a really grease material in there so it will bond the material. So it's a large process, very labor intensive to do this work. This is only the second time I've ever had
Is that why?
Well,
we don't find it through the issue that you.
normally you don't get it. It's about broken pipe underground or something like that, and flooding it. We had a thing at the Mohawk Gym several years ago. There's no way to know what it was. But the biggest difference now is that the pipe of the adhesive we use is blue. It's really low VOC. It isn't a line. So that's probably why that floor is stuck for as long as it has about holding up. But if you look very closely at it, it has ditches in it.
Yeah.
We were holding on by corners, so it wasn't holding it. So in order to maintain the full warranty on it, we had to go through a remediation process. We did get different pricing for different options. Some were in somewhere in the mid-20s, somewhere up in the upper $30,000 range. The mid-20s would not give us a warranty on the roof, flooring. I could spend that amount of money, we want to get a warranty on it. So we did try to do kind of the middle price point that put us a warranty on it. So the work was completed, we got a warranty on it for the remainder of the length of the floor product. Unfortunate thing, but I won't get that one goes on the district. We had the same issue, so it's pretty fortunate so far, but this was one that was very special. The floor looks great now, it's been in there, really nice deep floor, it looks like wood planks, so it's like planks inside of it. It's very unique. Got lots of stuff else they like it. That was one large one I did, so now we have to do the process over with the floor, what it looks like. Besides that, there's some other cleaning up the items from the second floor of the model upstairs. And it's showed items in the summer that we finally got the roof right the contractors. The back corner of those comes out here. The front floor was out. And then a couple items related to the alert system of getting anti-licenses that as the schools learn those things, they have to get into one a little more. We want to continue to give them additional training and additional flights until they find process don't have enough coverage. So we have a couple of control pieces that are really going to we know that.
What happened in Naga, it's not, I mean, it's $6,000 from, we not more aware of the lighting.
Yes, what that light is, people replace lighting with LED lighting.
Oh, yeah.
That's what normally used. So the old lighting was set, it has some switching to it, but really no capability to get it with one brightness on there. With the LED lighting, when we started putting it in there, it was super bright in there. So the LEDs were set with something that three different levels of light. That's what we want to do, bring those lighting levels down. So the difference in the port, and the bring the port level down a little bit too. So not really dimmable, but it does allow us to do all this function for that.
Okay. All right, thanks.
One other thing I just wanted to point out on the lower part of it, the lower summary, we talked about it last time when we awarded the contract for the summer's work, that we're taking a big chunk of the this savings, sorry, from this and the next board zone. So I wanted to include that in summary sheet there so we can come back up with documentation of it. What we did to use $1.4 million out of the contingency savings to cover the additional work that we're doing this summer. So I'm going to stop that. It still leaves us with about $1.4 million of contingency left to cover the next two summers worth of work. And still based on what we have in the past, and should be. But pretty well in case orders, those one large team orders here, but those large team orders will be very few apart between probably more on program.
What was the additional door locking?
So there's a couple doors that did not have actual locking mechanisms on there. So part of the bond program was the safety and security option. So we put door locks where you can lock them in the inside classroom side of it. So it's easier to get locked in the classroom. A couple of the doors that we renovated this past summer didn't have those locking mechanisms specified in the drawing. And we know they wanted to have those locking mechanisms on there. So we changed out the hardware to put locks in the left side. And that's what we wanted.
So when the original bid, when we did all the doors in the district, that those doors weren't on there?
Correct. My guess is that was our thing to the walk through. They didn't know that would be classroom space. Sometimes it's smaller classrooms, but they aren't really. They don't got 12 kids in there and they don't know what's around the room or what it is. So these are just ones that have no students in there. We don't have the hospital.
And then, I guess 3 toward the bottom of the administration building, second floor. I understand sometimes it gets expensive. The window clean, almost $900.
Well, and this was both the inside and the outside of those windows.
So second story, they had to get up.
Yeah, we kind of figured that the district probably would not hire somebody down the road through the windows and want to make sure clean before we left out there. It was kind of a, because we weren't planning on doing those renovations initially. That's why we didn't include in the bid. We probably just replace the windows, get out of there. Once we started renovating the second floor, that created a lot of dust, so we had anticipated originally the window replacement. So we wanted to make sure that those windows clean before we left. But yeah, because they're second floor windows.
And then the final cleaning, I mean, that wasn't in the original bid. Why wouldn't that be in the original bid for clean up after?
We do I'll call it construction clean, where we wipe down everything, afterwards, a lot of dust still settle over time. And because this doesn't have custodial staff in the building at all, typically the custodial staff helps them does find food for us. This building doesn't have that. We just kind of our same basics and we custodians in it. So that's the reason why we will have custodians in the building. I think there's one custodian that helps out on site here, but really doesn't have a standard student.
I'm just curious, what are the marker boards?
Like Brian Rakeford.
Oh,
But they had a couple on the wall, they took down, they wanted to install.
okay.
So just like we do what they already got, instead of buying new ones.
I don't have a problem with the items, but I just have a question for Scott. What's the relationship, chip one, IAM when it comes to cost?
So typically, the agreed upon relationship is more of a verbal. If we would normally put it in a classroom, so the smart boards, those normally would go in the classroom. We put it above and beyond what we would normally do, and the IAM next to it. So, for example, technology, laptops, what do we give all the teachers?
The Surface tablet.
All those, they pay for all. Anything that's not attached to the building and that we wouldn't normally do in a normal situation.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, this chamber summary report's going to come to the board next board meeting for approval, and That's all we have for the agenda. Unless there's any other questions. All right, and I will call the building secretary meeting over at 6:15. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Jeff.
you. See you in March.
Yeah.
Welcome, come to order the regular meeting of the Chippewa Schools Board of Education for February 7th, 2022. Please stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 633, 7. Okay, next up, we have additions and deletions. We do have an addition we need to add for this evening. Have a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Pearl. Supported by Mr. Quinn. Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Need a motion to amend the agenda to add under new business item F, vote approved candidate for the 2022 MASD Board of Directors, Region 8. I have that, so. let me look at that.
So moved.
Okay. Moved by Ms. Pearl. Supported by Ms. Quinn. Questions, comments? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Over to C, recognition presentations, Mr. Roberts.
Sure. I would like to just spend a minute this evening talking about our district and protocols related to COVID. So, Sarah, if you could pull that up so the public can see that. I realize that some of this is hard to read on these screens, but board members, you have a hard copy of this in front of you. So I just want to spend a few minutes talking about that, where we are right now. So again, if we go to the next slide, please, Sarah, on the these are some numbers you've seen, and I kind of keep it pretty similar so you can follow along and see changes and things in that. So the pattern of this presentation is similar to ones in the past. And again, we talked about both raw number of cases in Clinton-Macomb Township, January's. I remember presenting this and talking about from December to January and what we expected. And when I presented at one point, I said that if you just extrapolate the numbers and carry it out to the end of the month, Clinton Township would be about 1,000 cases higher than they were in December. And Macomb would have been 800 cases higher. And it actually was much different than that. Clinton was 1,400 cases higher, and that's across the top. And Macomb ended up being, instead of 800, 1,800 cases. And I always remind you that we're not the only school districts in these two townships, but we are the major school district in both of these townships. And then you can see numbers where we are in February right now. On rolling averages, on January 6th, we were at 1,600 cases on 7-day rolling average. And by January 23rd, it was down to 1,200. And I actually have updated numbers here at the end. On February 3rd, it shows 711. But when this was made later, or I was able to look at the county website later than we had this finalized, and the cases have dropped to 573 as a rolling average as of today. Positivity rate, same thing. You can see a decline in positivity rate since January 7th. February 6th is down to 20.8. So those are all wonderful things. On the next slide, slide 3, please, Sarah. The guidelines, as we know, are changed. It's now down to 5 days, assuming you're fever-free and have symptom improvement, you can come back to school. But it is just so the board knows, it is a county requirement that students return for days 6 to 10, and they're coming off being positive. If they're going to come to school, they must wear a mask for days 6 to 10. Otherwise, they can choose to quarantine at home still and live stream. And again, the county dropped their quarantine guideline procedures. And this all does take into effect the changes in this particular variant. And this allows both staff and students to get back to schools sooner, assuming they're symptom-free, or at least have improving symptoms. Now we go to the cases in Clinton Township. And I've already reviewed these numbers. These just kind of break it out from that other sheet. I don't need to do that anymore. And if we go to Macomb Township on the next one, I've reviewed those numbers and spoke about those already. So we can go to the next slide, Sarah. And this is COVID Act now. And we have, I've put some information from COVID Act now into here in the last few presentations. And you can see the changes in both Michigan and Macomb County over this period of time. We're now down to in Macomb County of 92.4 cases per 100,000, whereas I remember a report I gave previously, we're talking about 207 cases per 100,000. So all the numbers are really good. They're all trending as we told that they would trend. So those are all positive signs as we operate our schools. Then we go to the case numbers within our own buildings. You can see the elementary numbers here, which elementary numbers actually were higher than secondary numbers during this time period, but you can see they are declining from January 10th at 71 down to January 31st, that week with 33 cases. Middle school numbers, again, had there are no quarantines shown because we're not quarantining students right now. And then middle school numbers, you'll see a peak of January 10th with 70 cases that week, declining to last week with only 9 cases. High school also shows marked improvement of January 20, the week of January 10th with 122 cases, declining to last week with only 14 cases. We were out of school for 2 days, but still declined from the week before of 19 when we were there all days. We still, on the next slide, slide 10, we still have our testing clinic open, and people continue to use it even though the number of people has drastically declined just because there are fewer people becoming sick in the community right now, plus students do not need to test to stay in school. So again, this is the next slide. Is something that's been in there. We know that in order to operate our schools effectively, there's layers of protocols, and these are the ones that we talk about all the time. Those haven't changed. Those are things that occur that allow us to more easily operate our schools. So the next slide, please, Sarah. So this is where we are right now. And as we said when we started this, latest phase of our safety protocols that the mask requirement would expire on February 4th as it did. So we were, at least this time, able to kind of follow what they were telling us was going to happen with the fast rise and fall of COVID. And we timed that well. So masks are now optional in our buildings. And then there are just other data points here in this slide that just talk about, at least for right now, we are in a good position. Numbers are declining, and I just thank our community for helping make sure that we arrive at this point. So that is the end of this week's COVID report. Have any questions? I'll certainly entertain them.
Provide Mr. Exec. Somebody have anything they want, questions about comments on the consent agenda? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. This item
We have one retirement resolution this evening. Whereas Helen Forkisco has served the Chippewa Valley District faithfully and diligently for a period of 19 years as a lunch monitor and food service helper respectively. Whereas Helen Forkisco, through her leadership, has had a positive impact on the staff, students, and the community. Whereas Helen Forkisco, conscientious, loyal, and hardworking employee, has elected to retire. And whereas Helen Forkisco will be missed by all her school colleagues. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Chippewa Valley School District, not only on their behalf, but also that of the Superintendent of Schools and the administration, extend their thanks and appreciation for a job well done, as well as best wishes for the future. Be it further resolved that this resolution, having been adopted by the Board of Education of the Chippewa Valley School District on the 7th day of February 2022, be made a permanent part of the records of the school district, and a copy sent to Helen Forkisco as an expression of our appreciation.
And Mr. Zotis, is he staying with us now for a year?
We're recognizing principals that are retiring on March 7th. So we're going to just delay the reading of that till March 7th. But
You guys, 3 new teachers that were hiring?
I don't,
Everybody here?
no.
Okay, moving to old business, old business evening. Okay, new business. 1. F1. Vote and approve candidate for 2022 MASP Board of Directors, Region 8. It's recommended motion that the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education cast their vote and approve candidate to be determined for the 2022 Michigan Associated School Boards Board of Directors, Region 8 for a 3-year term. So, okay, the way this motion's reading, we kind of have a discussion first, and then we would insert the name in there and pass the motion and vote on that point. So we've all received a list of candidates for later. So 4 candidates, 1 incumbent. So I'll start discussion with you at the board. Vote for the incumbent, Arlene Antonio.
I would second that.
Thank you. Looking at the Michael.
Once a bold, I believe. So Kovich mentions Mr. Michael Swanky, Wyandotte Public Schools. Is there any support for Mr. Swanky? Any other candidates? Or would like to consider? Okay, hearing none, 6 board members of 7 have decided that Ms. Pomponio would be a candidate for our region. We would select. So at that, I will make a recommended motion that the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education cast their vote approved candidate Arlene Pomponio for the 2022 Michigan Association of School Boards and MASP Board of Directors, Region 8 for a 3-year term. Have a motion.
Move.
By Ms. Zach, support by Mr. Wojtowicz. Okay, rational based on the review of background information, Ms. Pomponio will receive Chippewa Valley School Board to represent Region 8. Thank you. Oh, yeah. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Yeah. Stuff from the community. Okay, as always, for the public participation at board meeting here, each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 5 minutes duration. be the 1 minute warning. So you wrap it up. Participants shall direct all comments to the board, not to staff or other participants. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually. Complaints against identifiable school personnel may not be expressed in an open meeting. Such complaints should first be submitted in writing to the board and aired in open or closed session according to the wish of the persons involved. The presiding officer may interrupt or terminate a participant's statement when the statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. Request any individual to leave the meeting when that person does not observe reasonable decorum. Request the assistance of law enforcement officers in the removal of a person when the person's conduct interferes with the orderly progress of the meeting. Call for a recess or adjournment to another time when the lack of public decorum so interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting as to warrant such action. Waive these rules with the approval of the board when necessary for protection of privacy or the administration of the board's business. All right, so a number of folks that want to speak this evening. All right. First up, we will have Ms. Jacqueline Carrington. Ms. Carrington? Hi, Ms. Carrington. Yes, have a microphone, please. Ms. Carrington, thanks for coming this evening. Please share your thoughts with the board.
Hi, I hate that I'm here today, but I feel like it's necessary. I don't ever think I need to explain myself. I don't ever think I need to defend myself. But yet I am here today because my son had to wear a mask and to kind of explain to you, but not to go beyond what I need to. He has a medical condition where he literally cannot wear a mask. My doctor signed a contract where they will not be allowed to sign an exemption form. We had to leave our doctor's office and we've been struggling finding another doctor and trying not to get emotional, but I'm very upset right now because it has caused my son to be bullied in school for not wearing a mask or wearing a face shield. And then I struggled with having to pull him out or not because I would get in trouble if he wasn't able to attend for 3 weeks. And that kind of puts me into a very difficult situation because I'm his mom. And I think that every parent here or at home feels the same way, that we make really good decisions for our children. My kids have had COVID. I had COVID. There was no reason for us to wear a mask. We were protected. We were fine. We were all good. There really is no reason for you guys to do that. I was personally hurt and struggling for the last 3 weeks. And I'm really disappointed in all of you because it's your job to help our kids be protected, but not to overreach and tell us how to be a good parent. That's all I have to say. So thank you for letting me be here.
Thanks, Ms. Carrington, for your comments this evening. Next up, I have Ms. Terrace Jones. Ms. Jones. Ms. Jones, thank you for coming this evening. Please share your comments with the board.
Hi, so my name is Terry Jones. Robert, I wanted to thank you for the last meeting, for having the courage to stand up amongst your colleagues to bring the mask mandate requirement to the table for a vote. It's just unfortunate that your colleagues didn't really care to listen to us parents. They could care less about our concerns for our kids, for their safety. You could tell by their eye rolls and just them looking the other way and just not even engaged in what we had to say. I mean, I don't know how much more evidence we need to give to you guys to tell you and remind you that these masks don't work. So I still don't understand why they were forced on our children. Again, these kids have a 99.999% chance of survival if they get COVID. And then here you're telling us, oh, get vaccinated, get a booster, wear a mask, social distance, wash your hands, stay home. How come nobody, I'm not hearing, hey, everybody, your kids need to get some exercise, get them out in the sun. They need some vitamin D. They need some vitamin C. How come they're not learning about natural immunity? I mean, that is what will protect our kids, natural immunity. Keeping them muzzled with these masks is just creating bigger problems in the long run. Additionally, I'm sure you guys have all gotten not one vaccine, but 2 vaccines and probably a booster. But you still wearing a mask, social distancing. So if these masks work, then why all these extra booster shots and social distancing? It just isn't making sense. And also, if your mask is protecting you, then me or my child not being masked shouldn't be an issue. I mean, you all believe in your masks, right? So on another note, I also think it's odd that, a board member is able to go hang out at the Hamlin pub without a mask. Yet here in our school district, he's forcing our kids to be masked for an entire school day. So I don't know, is COVID only a threat in Chippewa Valley schools if you're a student? That's where it's scary. That's where we have to worry about getting COVID. And you're trying to tell me, but the Hamlin pub is perfectly safe and you don't need a mask and you don't need to worry about anything at the Hamlin pub. But here in Chippewa Valley schools, that's a threat. I don't know. That just doesn't make sense to me. So thanks for listening.
Thank you for your comments. All right, next up. Sorry, Kelly. Come on. Thanks for coming this evening. Please share your comments with the board.
Thank you. Good evening. I spoke at the last meeting and stated that when masks became optional at the beginning of the school year, I got comfortable. Even though the masks are yet again optional, comfortable is not how I'm feeling these days. Our poor children have been damaged with this back and forth, flip-flopping, inconsistent hypocrisy. I watched a commercial the other day showing elementary age children at home seeing things like the Academy Awards and professional sporting events on television, packed stadiums and venues full of unmasked individuals shoulder to shoulder. And then it flips to those same children masked in classrooms. What must they think besides, wow, school is a dangerous place. If this is the only place besides an airplane and maybe a doctor's office that I have to wear a mask. There is zero evidence that masking stops the spread of the virus, but quite a few studies that show masks don't work. We have to ask, why then do we continue forcing masks on the least vulnerable in society? And all I can come up with is that they are easy to control. I will continue to pray that this is it, no more mask mandates. I want to finish here by thanking Robert. I would attempt your last name, but I know I will butcher it. Please know you're very appreciated. You have been the one board member who has proven time and time again that you care about our children and also about what we as parents want for our children. I can't imagine it's easy fighting on your own. Motioning for a vote to end the mask mandate last meeting where you can't even get another board member to second it. I pray that come November, parents do the right thing and vote in some new board members who align with you and in turn want what's best for our children.
Thank you very much for your comments this evening. Next up. Wolves. Any Wolves? Or Wisner? Sorry about that.
So I kind of feel weird following all these masks talk. And I'm pretty sure this is also what we're saying, but there are probably other kids with me who think that we shouldn't have school on the Monday after the Super Bowl because I don't really know, but there's just something about it that's always wrong. And I'm not sure if anyone really pays attention to the class because they're thinking about the game or something. And if possible, maybe we could just not have school on Monday or something. Just after the Super Bowl. That's all.
All right. Thank you very much for your comments. And I'm I'm sorry, what was your name? And your last? Isn't it? Okay, thanks. Okay, all right, next up, we have Stanley Shipley, Mr. Shipley. Mr. Shipley, thanks for coming this evening, and please share your comments before.
So I'm a little bothered by the lack of public accountability that your rules allow us. The bylaws that say I can't address an individual board member, I'm not sure that's constitutional. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not. You're an elected official. This is a public forum, and it's political speech. So I don't know in what world you think you have the authority to not allow that. So I'm going to break that bylaw shortly, not just to do it, but because it's a little relevant. So
I'll give you 3 warnings, and then I'll have this officer removed. So, if that's what you want to do. You're telling me up front, I'm telling you up front.
Sure. If he removes me, if you tell me to leave, I will leave. But I just want to point, and I'm very pro law enforcement. I won't fight you. You won't need to push me out. If you tell me to leave, I will obey that order. But I do want to point out that would be an agent of the government violating my free speech in a public forum while addressing an elected representative. So, last time I was here, I pointed out email that I sent to all of you that the mask mandate was causing repeated violations of Michigan compiled laws 380.1309. Sent it to you in an email, mentioned it in the last board meeting. Did any of you do anything to address those violations, to prevent them from happening any further? I'll give you 10 seconds to respond, but I'm sure you will not. All right, so there again is my issue with the lack of public accountability. I pointed out clear-cut Michigan law being violated. None of you seem interested in addressing that or assuring the public that, you know what, you pointed it out and we made this change to assure that law was followed. I don't know if it was violated again since then. I know it was several times before that point. Beth Pyden, you're an attorney. You ran for judge. I don't know if you're the only attorney up there, but I happen to know that you are. As an attorney, when someone pointed out repeated violations by school administration of Michigan law, did you do anything to put an end to that?
All right, I would say that's the first strike. You're not to address board members individually. It's very clear. I read it for you, and now you've done it. So that would be your first strike. Continue.
Okay, Mr. Is it Bednard?
Yes.
I do believe you're violating my constitutional rights by insisting that I not be able to address an elected official in a public forum.
You're at a community comment portion of our meeting where you're to allow to make comments to the board. It's not a question and answer period. That would be a town hall type setup. That is not this. This is the community's.
She's free to not answer.
Excuse me. This is the community's meeting. This is for our board to conduct business on behalf of our community. You allow our community to come in and make comments to us. We're very free and open about it. We've had a really good, I won't say time with it, but we've not had any problems. This is the most serious infringement we've had so far. And these are our rules. We read them to you. You get a chance. If you don't like them, that doesn't make it great. So that's
if they violate the Constitution, then I'm not going to follow them.
That's what you'll have to decide.
Mr. Roberts, did you do anything to ensure that the law was followed going forward?
Again, I'm going to interrupt again. This is twice now. We've asked you not to address anybody but the board chair, which would be me, regarding these. You're not to address individual board members. It's clearly written. You've read it, and I explained it to you. So that's twice. And next time, I'm going to ask this officer to kindly escort you from the building.
All right. Again, I'm unsure of your name, how to pronounce your last name, but Robert, they say you are, on our side, politically to the right, though I'm kind of center. Did you do anything to talk to other administrators to address Mr. Roberts to see if he did anything to bring about an end to those violations of Michigan law? Thank you. Thank you for the public accountability. It is very much appreciated. All right, so I'm short on time. You kind of took a good portion of it. The two things I'd like to point out with my remaining time is that when you put that into effect, we've heard from multiple mothers of students who have medical issues. You gave them no time to get a waiver. You had this waiver process, but how are you going to get a waiver overnight? How's someone supposed to do that? You had no problem kicking a student out for 3 weeks. Your plan was have the parents call them in. We didn't want to do the dirty work. We didn't want to suspend them, which is the thing Michigan law required. Which was the thing Michigan law required that you were unwilling to do. You didn't want to suspend them. So you tricked parents, I think. You deceived parents into calling their own students out. And you had no problem with students missing 3 weeks of school over this incredibly irrational fear of children coming to school in masks. It's clear you don't care about the well-being of our students. It's clear you don't care about their education. If you would prefer to just have students stay home for 3 weeks, then come to school not wearing a mask. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next up, we have is Faith Bryant. Ms. Bryant. Thanks, Ms. Bryant, for coming this evening. Please share your comment with the board.
I just wanted to say thank you for not extending the mask mandate. I'm happy to be back in school without one and to see my friends without one. It's just nice to see people's faces. And yeah, it's just kind of short, but I just wanted to say thank you for not extending the mask mandate. Thanks.
Your comments. Lastly, I have, and let's say this right, I apologize, from Konstantinos Parabatsos.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, that does it for community comments. Steve, man, again, appreciate all your comments this evening. Next up, H communication. Any union leadership would like to speak to the board? We have administration reports, Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, I have a couple of things this evening. First, I'd like to recognize Helen Korkisko, who had a retirement resolution read in her honor this evening, who worked 19 years as both a lunch monitor and a kitchen staff employee. I know Helen. She's extremely dedicated to the school district. And we need more employees like her. As the community knows, we have vacancies and openings, and Helen worked with us for 19 years. We would love to find other people who are as dedicated as Helen to help serve our students. So congratulations to her. I also would like to mention that this week has been proclaimed National School Counseling Week. And information's been sent out by Governor Whitmer's office. And I'd like to read a proclamation about National School Counseling Week. Whereas school counselors are employed in public and private schools to help students reach their full potential, and whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents as these traits relate to career awareness and development. And whereas school counselors help parents focus on ways to further the educational, personal, and social growth of their children. And whereas school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves. And whereas school counselors seek to identify and utilize community resources that can enhance and complement comprehensive school counseling programs and help students become productive members of society. And whereas comprehensive developmental school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in school. For these reasons, during this week, we are recognizing National School Counseling Week. I would really like to recognize our counselors for the work they do and the difference they make in the lives of our students. Counselors are asked to do a lot, and they're an extremely dedicated group of individuals working to serve. So thank you to our school counselors. I would also like to turn it over to Sarah Monyer-White at this time as part of the administration reports, and Sarah's going to talk about some of the research she's done on equipping this room with proper technology. So go ahead, Sarah.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Board members, in your packet, you have a summary of the quotes we received. So at the request of the board, I worked with Metro Technology. We reached out to 6 local companies to request quotes for some replacement technology. After working with the board and the operations subcommittee, the board identified a few goals. We did want to continue to provide a recording of board meetings so that community members not able to attend in person would have access. We know that the sound in our current system is not the best. And we know that the current system, we've made it through COVID. We've been able to stream and provide meetings for our community, but it's really not a permanent system. So one company did not reach back to us at all. We had one company, Motor City Electric, who came in and looked at the system, but decided not to provide us with a quote. So that left us with 4 quotes that you'll see summarized there. You'll notice a drastic price difference between them. The first 3 from ABI, Advanced Lighting and Sound, and SoundCom, are significantly more expensive. And really what those companies did, 2 of the 3 of them came on site. They looked at our system. They provided a quote for really more of a production studio system. So we did talk with all of them. We talked about the goals. And in my opinion, they were just kind of a little over the top in terms of what the board is asking for. Complete Interactive is the lowest quote that you'll see there for about $7,500. And when you talk with them, it's really definitely more of a bare bones system, but I believe it's comprehensive and I believe it'll meet the needs. So if the board wants to move forward with a permanent AV system in this room to record board meetings and then have them posted on the website, I'd recommend that we go with Complete Interactive Technologies. And the way this would work, this is the camera. This is actually the camera we're mounting in classrooms for classroom streaming. It's just got one different input in the back that we need for the system. So we would use 2 of these. It's a pan-tilt zoom. It's a 360-degree camera. So we'd have one towards the back of the room where we'd be able to get a nice view of the entire board. And then we have another one mounted probably off to the side or front, where if we have a speaker or presenter, we'd be able to get that view. So these are significantly less expensive than some of the like television production cameras, but they do provide a really nice view in the classroom. They do have Zoom, they do have presets. So 2 of these would be mounted in the boardroom. And then what we're looking at, instead of a $8,000 to $10,000 again cable studio switcher or TriCaster unit, we're looking at this. This is something that I bought 7 or 8 months ago when we started contemplating our options. This is a $500 semi-professional stream YouTube from your basement switcher. I can connect up to 4 devices through here. We can have a sound input run from the board. We're looking at putting a small streaming station directly behind Dr. Blanchard. There's a closet back there. We have a single monitor. The cameras and sound would go through the ceiling to that room to hook into here. And we could hit record. And then on an external hard drive, have a recording of the meeting. You are giving up a few things. You're saving $20,000 to $30,000. But this system would provide, you can do a picture-in-picture. So we could show both cameras at once. If we have a presenter, we can have the board in the corner and then have a close-up of the presenter. You can electronically share content, but probably at least at first it'd be a camera focused on one of these monitors. So it's not as fancy in terms of overlays and green screens. We won't have the ability to do that, but that wasn't part of your goal. And again, it's a much simpler solution. This is something that we can leave set up in that room. It's a reasonable cost. This is not a budgeted project, so we wanted to keep the cost low. It provides a simple solution that meets
the goals of the board as I understand them, and it doesn't require constant manning. Basically, once you start the system and hit record, I can be in this room. Each of the cameras can hold up to 10 presets, so I can actually work them from in this room. So if we needed to do a close-up of Mr. Roberts while he's speaking or another board member, I can have that all pre-programmed and just do that right from within the board. So that would be my recommendation, but there are fancier options we can go.
Can you just mention sound quality?
Yeah, so right now, the way we have the sound set up is basically the laptop behind me picks up the sound from these speakers. So it's not the best quality, and especially if you forget to lean into the mic, it doesn't come through very well. When we were hosting the meetings in the Chippewa Auditorium, we used their soundboard that we could plug directly into to channel the sound. Part of this quote from Complete is taking a wire basically from this cabinet that controls our sound, and it will wire directly into this unit. So the sound will be more the quality of what we had when we were streaming from the auditorium. It won't be this laptop speaker trying to pick up the sound. So it should be a much better quality sound.
So does the board have comments? Sarah's very comprehensive when she speaks with people and gets bids and ideas on how to make this all work. So if you have questions, this is a good time.
This was in subcommittee too, right?
Yeah. I just want to say, as always, Sarah, especially over the last 2 years, your job has been very challenging, and you've always been with the occasion and analyzing everything that we need to do. I would say that it sounds to me like what you're recommending makes sense because of the price, and it sounds like you're convinced, or that the people you work with, that it will improve into the point where people can hear it and see it properly, and that's really what our goal was. So I think it's a good solution, and I would support it. Thank you.
Other questions, comments by the board? It's just going to be coming up, further board meeting, or we look.
I don't think it needs to. It's under the bid threshold, so we just get consensus from the board that you think this is going to work.
Anybody that is not board?
Is that the recommendation?
Yes. Subcommittee.
Well, yeah, we asked you to go with this.
No, I know. You guys.
We didn't ask
You
you.
guys.
No, we didn't see that. No, we discussed it, and we said we need like the best system, $50,000. And then what we did was we told Sarah or whoever to get the bid together, and that we would do the discussion of it in a board committee as a whole, so we could talk about it, but we are right now. So we didn't go back in the committee, no, because we told you we needed to.
Questions, comments by the board? Sir, I'm going to miss something here. Have you seen these cameras in other school districts? We use these right now. I wanted to say that starting.
This model camera are the ones that we're mounting in classrooms. We started that project back in September for the live streaming. And then Richmond also uses the same model.
Okay. Thanks. Additional questions, comments? Okay. Anybody opposes? Yeah. Very good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. Then we'll proceed with it. Sarah, just out of curiosity, like, put you more on the spot here, but like, what's a timeline on this, do you think?
I think it'll depend on availability of cameras and ceiling mounts. We had a hard time getting those when we started our project for the classroom. But I really think we could, as long as they're available and I can get 2 cameras, I think we could have it done by spring break.
All right. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so under administrative reports, that's our last one. And if it's okay with you, Mr. Bednar, I'm going to move right to the next one, curriculum updates. They kind of blend together. And Dr. Broski is going to speak regarding some assessment updates that were also described in your board packet. So, Broski, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. Good evening, members of the board. According to Public Act 48, Section 98B, all school districts in the state of Michigan are required to do the following.
choose a benchmark assessment or assessments that are aligned to state standards and are administered to determine whether students are making meaningful progress toward mastery of these standards. Publicly report on goals at the first board education meeting in February, and then again before the last day of school. Share this information through the district's transparency website, both in February and before the last day of school. And by law, we are also required to disaggregate the data by grade level, student demographics, and mode of instruction. And that data will be posted to the transparency website later this week. So for benchmarking purposes, NWEA provides a RIT score, which is a student achievement indicator. NWEA provides average norm RIT scores for each level tested for reading and for math. These average RIT scores can be compared over time to provide a way to monitor student achievement. We administer NWEA MAP growth assessments in reading twice per year to all students in grades 3 through 10, once in the first 9 weeks of the school year and again prior to the last day of school. For students in K through 2 and 9 through 12, local assessments are used to monitor progress toward our goals over the course of the school year. NWEA math assessments are administered to students in grades K through 8. For students in 9th through 12th grade, local assessments are used. These local assessments are aligned to our state standards and are used to determine whether students are making meaningful progress toward mastery of these standards. The results from these assessments, among other data sets, will be used to monitor progress toward their goals over the course of the school year. Our district-wide goals are in reading, ELA, and mathematics for the current school year. Our main focus is to help students recover from the 2021 school year, which many in the field of education consider an extremely difficult year for instruction and learning throughout the country. The district reading goal for 2021-22 is, by the end of this school year, each school and the district will show growth in reading, ELA achievement throughout the global pandemic as measured with NWEA MAP growth for grades K through 8 and with local assessments in grades 9 through 12. All teachers will continue to utilize a variety of strategies and assessments to support meaningful student progress towards mastery of reading academic standards. In reading, ELA results from benchmark and local assessments will be continuously discussed and analyzed by staff through data review. Our fall 2021 NWEA MAP growth data show that, much like nationwide trends, our reading scores outperformed math scores to begin the year. With reading being a key part of our district priority over the past few years, we see that our reading scores still average in the normal range in most of our schools. While there has been a drop in scores from what we would traditionally see pre-pandemic, Chippewa Valley Schools continues to provide an excellent reading education for our students. Elementary teachers have been adjusting their core reading instruction to align with the science of reading. This new focus on research-based reading instruction is helpful to alleviate some of the challenges that have been resulted due to the uninterrupted learning during the pandemic. Teachers have been using collaborative team time to look at student data throughout the year. They use these data to provide appropriate tiered instruction and interventions to students who are at various skill levels. The district mathematics goal is by the end of 2021-2022 school year, each school in the district will show growth in mathematics achievement as measured in NWEA MAP growth for grades K through 8 and local assessments for grades 9 through 12. Analysis of both process and perception of survey data leads us to believe that math was much more difficult for students to learn and teachers to teach when learning modes of instruction changed periodically throughout the school year, 2020-2021. Without access to students in front of them for part of that school year, teachers were not able to provide the same one-on-one support that they normally would with students during math instruction. As our students return to fully in-person learning this year, elementary schools have resumed the strategies utilized through the Bridges Math program. It's been observed in our schools that these strategies have begun to help our students recover from learning losses they may have suffered during 2020-2021. We're looking forward to the results of spring NWEA math assessments to observe whether that upward trend continues. In June, I'll be back with an end of the year report on growth and achievement. We have an updated summary of student performance from NWEA math growth and local assessments in reading and mathematics for you at that time. That concludes my report. I'm going to thank you for your time. John Cafagna, our coordinator of data and assessment, is here with our educational service administrators. We can answer any questions you may have at this time, or feel free to contact educational services at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Borowski. Any questions, comments for the board?
The charts that are in our packet, they have the average, median, mean, minimum range. Is there a reason why the range is so high in lower L as opposed to as it goes up into 9th to 10th grade where the range gets closer together?
Right now, there's a couple theories on that because really we don't have the time yet to look back at the pandemic and see how these things happen. But that range is basically just the difference between our highest performing schools and our lowest at that grade level. And we can make a bunch of theories as to why, maybe resources at home, opportunities outside of school, what have you. But we'll probably be able to dig into that deeper in the future.
I have a question. So when the assessments came through, I saw it, especially in math, it was a struggle, but were they better or worse than what we anticipated given the changes and distance learning and how students did compared to what we expected?
Surprisingly, reading was higher, but math was right about what we expected. Reading a little bit higher. What's interesting now as I visit buildings is that it seems like just being back at school the way we are this year, the math content areas, the students are really picking up a lot of what they missed last year, just through this year. So we're hopeful that that will continue through the end of the year.
Okay, because I noticed the threes we're not as low as I thought they would be. Okay, thank you.
Questions, comments by the board? Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Report. Now to K Ovens by the board.
Yeah, I have a couple things on it. First of all, we got the email, and I know Denise and Rich talked to us about a scoreboard. What does anybody know? No, Mr. Sutherland said he's looking into it. So, and that's the first I heard. So we're looking into it. We're going to get an answer on that.
That's what Mr. Sutherland said. I sent an email back to the parent and told them that I would reach out to the appropriate people. And Mr. Sutherland had already responded and said that now they're looking into it. They were not aware of the problem.
Okay.
And they were surprised. They weren't aware of it. There were some technology issues earlier in the year. And Sarah went out there and rebooted and we put a new laptop, which seemed to resolve it, but it is a 17-year-old scoreboard. So they're going to see where we stand and then make a decision on, which way we should go.
I can tell you the games that I've been to football, it's work.
Yeah.
I never did it with Brown.
Right.
I saw it working too. So
Yeah, so I don't know, but still with the parent concerns, so we'll find out exactly where. She seemed like she was speaking out of that group of people, so.
yeah.
So if it isn't working, we certainly like.
I guess also it was mentioned to me the wrestling mats. are old. They're over like 25 years old or something.
Oh, wow.
Can somebody look into maybe trying to address that?
Yeah, we send these things to the athletic director. So we'll do that.
Okay.
I think he already has sent the application.
Yeah, I'm gonna,
About the scoreboard.
the information on the scoreboard went to the athletic director, but Matt's we're not aware of, so.
And I guess the last thing, one of the parents I can't remember, he was addressing a situation where he thought we were breaking laws. Can we contact the attorney to get a response from them to find out what their response, what they would say about that?
But I'm not, I can't answer that myself, but I will say that I do know that our policies, typically we have lawyers involved in all of our policies to make sure that we go out to all the state and federal laws. I don't know if anyone's looking into it. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah, the bylaws are usually with some counsel
Legal counsel.
reviewing them, so, I don't know, Ron, you can send an email out.
Yeah, I can do that. If that's what the board would like me to do.
Yeah. I don't, it's the board's rules. In fact, we're gonna be changing our rules for participation going forward. We're gonna put that in subcommittee here coming up. We just haven't got around, we needed to do it for about a year and a half, so.
Yeah.
We're gonna get
So
to
I can have a review done of those.
Okay, maybe that could help. You know, there's one thing. Have review that, come in for a subcommittee meeting, review that. Talk about it, somehow we're gonna change some of the public participation areas.
And we typically just get. That's all I.
And typically they're standard. They're usually done by a company called Viola. So boards across the country have the same bylaw policy.
Very similar.
Okay, I know there's different levels. If there's something wrong, just to get the attorney just address it.
We need to get that. We said operations, I think, operations. You want to, for public participation. MASB came out with when boards were having problems during public comment with what they were doing to minimize trouble. And they were curbing some of the rules or put out for the community to follow. So we have looked through that. We like what we see. We want to implement them here. So we'll put that in the subcommittee. They can bring a record to give us, what they think's going to work. They want to review them, want to change them. Hassle to be present, make sure anything that's changed, and then make a recommendation for the whole board. So, I don't know when we can do that. We know we do not have a board workshop next Monday, so it's nothing. We originally had scheduled a board workshop for next Monday, but we're not going to have that board workshop. So I think that takes us out to March. Our next board meeting
Is our next meeting.
March 9th.
Meeting.
Perhaps, yes.
Is it March 9th?
March 7th. March 7th.
What did I said March 7th? This is not March 7th or it is March?
March 7th. Oh, I thought you said 9th.
Oh, okay, well, that's.
Anyways, so perhaps in the interim, we could get some information out to the subcommittee or the full board.
And some also that too, but I was talking, I think I'm trying to go back to the email he
Talking
sent.
about spending.
Yeah, something about that too.
So it's not really.
I get that email 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly, but yeah, we can just kind of look into that, just make sure on that stuff to get attorney response.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, something by the board.
Can you include in our board packet this week how many students did not attend school because of the mass mandates? We know like the number. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, nothing further. I need a motion to adjourn.
No.
Moved by Ms. Lezak, support by Ms. Hyde. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned at 7:32. Thank you, everyone.